Do y'all think Tony got hit? But hey, y'all, welcome back to another review of Life with Chess for Tyler Perry's Zatima, Season 3, Episode 17. Okay, y'all, so first things first, let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below. Look, after seeing episode 18, I want to say something completely different, but we're going to stick to this one for right now. Okay, so in this episode, basically, it's a continuation of last week's episode where Leslie talking about some, they was coming out the hotel together. She's showing the photo and everything, and I was confused. Because she was showing them the photos or whatever. Did he say that he had somebody doctor the photo and send it to her? Is that what he said? Because then Fatima was like, it's an old photo. But I will say this in reference to episode 18. I feel like this is the perfect example of how, in certain situations, what's it called? Crazy making. Because this whole episode, or the beginning of the episode at least, he's saying, I'm sorry for this and all this stuff, and she had too much to drink and all this other stuff. But then you get to episode 18, and you see that he basically crazy making. Because I want to say so bad, but I ain't going to say it right now. But yeah, all I'm going to say is that this is the perfect example of crazy making. But yeah, Leslie was saying she saw Malachi going all through their stuff and everything, looking through their stuff. I said, so she was right, because she hadn't even been drinking then, I don't think. But yeah, I was like, she was right then. But yeah, Zach ends up asking him if he loved Fatima like that and all this stuff. I couldn't tell if Zach believed him or not. But yeah, Fatima ends up hitting the table and saying enough or whatever. And that's when, I think she said that the photo not real. That's when Malachi ends up apologizing or whatever. But yeah, he ends up apologizing to Fatima and Zach and everything. And then they leave. So then they start having a conversation about it. And I was like, I hope he didn't believe that. So Zach ends up saying he don't believe it. He knows that Fatima didn't do that. But he is upset that Fatima didn't tell him about Malachi coming. And she said something about he's not going to know about every person she was with that broke her heart or something like that. And I was like, see, this is why they need to communicate. This is exactly why they need to communicate. But at the same time, they making progress. But yeah, he was more upset about the fact that, or more bothered, I won't say upset, by the fact that she didn't tell that Malachi was coming or whatever. And I said, this is why I always tell y'all, don't never give nobody the opportunity to try to one-up y'all. But yeah, Fatima ends up telling Zach that's when they start talking about, trust and the fact that he decided to go after Jeremiah and everything. And she was like, you chose Jeremiah over me, over this baby or whatever. You chose to go after him. She ends up saying he should have checked with her first, consider the baby before he made his decision. So she ends up telling him also to go see Jeremiah because, he could press charges. But Zach ends up stopping by the barbershop to see Tony or whatever. He had all them locks on the door. And I said, he forgot to lock the doggone door when Zach left. I said, he forgot. Oh, my freaking goodness. But if you've seen the trailer for this season or whatever, they showed a scene where I think it was him, Nate, Connie, Fatima, Zach, they was all hugging, right? Wasn't he right there? So everything should be okay, but I don't know. But Zach was asking him about all the locks and stuff like that. So he was saying it's been a string of robberies or whatever. Excuse me. And I remember a synopsis said something about Tony had to defend the barbershop, but they didn't say against what. So I was assuming that Belinda was going to show up. I don't think she hasn't been on lately. No, she ain't been on lately. But I thought they were saying like Belinda gonna stop by or something like that, or somebody that's not supposed to be there, maybe Jeremiah. Look, I wasn't expecting this at all. But yeah, they end up having a conversation. He was talking about the robberies. Then he ends up basically talking to him about everything that happened, and he was basically saying the same thing that Fatima told him. Go see Jeremiah. You was wrong and stuff like that. You got to think before you act. And he ends up showing him the video of him beating Jeremiah or whatever. And at first, he didn't want to look at it. Yeah, at first, he didn't want to look at it or whatever. Then he finally took the phone out Tony's hand and he watched the whole video. So that's when they was talking about it and all that stuff. And basically, Tony was trying to make him see that it could have been a lot worse. Or whatever. But then Zach ends up saying, I don't know if he told him he was going to the hospital or what. But he ends up basically leaving. And they showed the locks. I was like, something about to happen. And he forgot to lock up. Then he had his back turned. I said, he was standing in that same spot for a long time. When you think about it, because when Zach left, that's when he went over there and he turned his back or whatever. Zach goes to visit Jeremiah finally. And Jeremiah starts screaming for the doctor. I said he thought he was there to finish the job, didn't he? He started screaming, doctor. But yeah, he stopped by to visit him. He was like, no, he ain't there to hurt him or nothing like that. So they ended up having a conversation or whatever. I was like, oh, but I feel like, I don't know. Do y'all think something's going to go wrong? I feel like something's going to go wrong, but we'll see. Yeah, they started talking or whatever. Jeremiah ends up apologizing. Well, first he was like, I'm on that stuff and all that. And Zach was basically saying the same thing he been saying. That doesn't give you the right to do what you did still. I love how he still calls her his wife, but I prefer to see them actually get married, because if something happened, calling somebody your wife and them actually being your wife is not going to make, it's a difference. It's a difference. But yeah, Jeremiah ends up apologizing or whatever. Says he wants to get off the stuff, and Zach was basically asking him if he's serious and all that stuff, because I'm assuming he done heard this before. If I'm not mistaken, I think season 2 at the end he was saying he wanted to get off that stuff. I don't know. I might be wrong. But yeah, he ends up asking Zach for help. So Zach eventually agrees to help him, but he still has his reservations or whatever. But Jeremiah said he don't want to end up like his mama and everything, and he ends up telling Zach that he loves him. And I was like, oh, that was a sweet moment. I gotta backtrack, because back to the conversation between Zach and Tony. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that I think he ends up saying that Fatima said he should go visit Jeremiah, and he don't want to do that and stuff like that. And I think Tony said, "That's your family. You can't choose your family or whatever." And I said, "That's what they call it." I'm just gonna say an old saying. I said, "They don't always apply or matter." I said, "Why people? Y'all know how y'all knew it was coming. If you listen to my reviews, you already knew it was coming." I almost forgot though. You can't absolutely choose your family. You can't choose your relatives. There is a huge difference. Some people are blessed enough to have family that's blood and all that other stuff. Some people are blessed to have family that's not blood. I feel like people been stuck on that for so long, or we've been told that for so long, that we allow a whole bunch of mess that we should not be allowing. Now, if it's over petty stuff, then of course. But if it's over something serious, no. You can forgive, and that's another thing. People will be like, okay, you gotta forgive and stuff like that, which is true, because you can't be holding on to stuff, because that's only gonna hold you back. You be sitting up here holding on. Okay, that's too much. But yeah, I said there's a difference between forgiving and forgetting. You could forgive. He could have chose to forgive Jeremiah and still walked away until he actually got the help himself. I don't know. Do y'all think he actually gonna get the help he need, or what? Do y'all think he's just gonna go there and check himself out, or what? But yeah, back to it. So I think it looked like Zach was finna go or whatever, but he came back. Jeremiah had said he loved him and all that stuff. So he was like, then why did you always used to do this and do that to me or whatever? And I think they was talking before that or after that. They was talking about when they was little, and he said that Zach used to beat him up or something like that. But yeah, Jeremiah admits that he was jealous of Zach. He has everything. He's a junkie and stuff like that he was jealous or whatever. So Zach ends up finally telling Jeremiah he loves him too and all that other good stuff. I think, did he tell him about the funeral during that scene? I don't know. I think he ends up saying he wanted to go to the funeral. Zach and Fatima. I think they had made it back to the house or something like that. Zach ends up telling Fatima he don't know what he'd do without her or whatever. I think he was saying he loved her and all that other good stuff. But he ends up telling her about his visit with Jeremiah, and she ends up asking why didn't he blink an eye when Leslie showed the photo or whatever. So first he was like, he knows her, he knows what she would or wouldn't do and all that other stuff. And I said, okay, trust. But they still ended up talking about, the same thing, the Jeremiah thing, basically telling him he needs to get his stuff together, that she doesn't want their kids around that stuff. Zach ends up saying also about, the whole photo situation. He was like, at the top of her ear, it was a piercing right there. And he was like, that piercing is closed, so he already knew what it was or whatever. And I said, I ain't even noticed no piercing or whatever. I said, he was looking mighty hard. And also, I think the last thing before we get to Tony part, they was talking about trust, and they was already talking about trust. No, they was talking about her issues. Zach was saying, they need to talk about her issues. And I said, they be reading our comments, y'all. They be reading our comments, listening to our videos, doing their research, because they've been studying, addressing stuff we talk about all the time. About, we focus so much on Zach, but she just as bad. And he told her that basically, he ends up also telling her that she's insecure, but she just kind of downplayed it. She was like, you allowed to have your opinion or whatever. That's how you feel about her. Basically saying she don't feel that way about herself. And the last thing is Tony. So somebody comes in, they end up having on one of the little face mask things, and they end up saying, what they say, what time it is? Something basically robbing the barbershop or whatever. And he had his weapon on Tony. I knew he pulled out his weapon too. Next thing you know, shots was fired. And I said, do y'all think the news that Connie gets, it's not even about her, but it's about Tony? Or do y'all think it's about her? Because now I'm confused. But yeah, I don't know what happened. I know it was a lot of shots. You could hear it. And I was like, no. And they never went back to it. I can say that part. They never went back to it. Did y'all see that part? I was like, maybe I missed it. But I don't think so, because I was on the laptop working. So I don't think they showed Tony again. I was like, why wouldn't they go back and show him? But that's it, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on this episode down below. Stay tuned for the next video. Until next time, deuces, have girls today and be safe.